So, last week we got on with finally getting the rear window frame sorted out, and boy, what a difference it makes to the car. I hadn't realised just how much I got used to that gaping square hole, and putting the oval opening in has really started to complete the look at the back. So, this week it's on to getting the rest of the fine details sorted out. Now, in order to get everything to fold down behind the rear bodywork, it's actually necessary for the roof section to fold in half. And the problem with that is when it's folded, it actually goes slightly over centre and the roof sags in the middle. This hasn't really been a problem up to now, as I haven't really been bothered about fine details. But like Christmas, all things come to those who save time with a stitch in 9, or so my granny used to say. Then again, she was a bit insane, so I wouldn't take her word for anything. Anyway, what we need to do is basically create a couple of adjustable bump stops that will stop the roof opening too much, and that is where this little doodad comes in. For anyone watching who's tried to drill a perpendicular hole through steel box section will know that no matter how much and how carefully you line the drill up, by the time you come out the other side, you're nowhere near the centre of the metal. So this little device allows you to clamp it to the steel box section and it guides the drill perfectly vertical. Nice. With that done, I could then insert a couple of riv nuts and then screw in a pair of bolts with lock nuts to allow me to accurately set the gap between the roof sections. And I would love to show you a close-up on what this looks like, but I forgot because I am basically crap at doing this. And anyway, it all worked and it all lined up. Now, whilst you're busily thinking that I am a bit crap at all this, you may also notice here that I seem to have forgotten to film cutting out this little corner piece. Well, let me tell you, my friend, that's exactly what I forgot. Anyway, it was just cutting out a little triangle of steel, which isn't very exciting. And here is some shiny, sparkly welding to take your mind off that disappointment. What I did was basically bend a small piece of 20mm steel bar to make the return, and then it was a case of welding and grinding. With the metalwork out the way, it was then time for the usual grind of grinding. Well, after filling, of course. The roof is actually the worst bodywork panel on the car, because whilst it does have a curvature to it, it's not a compound curve, and that means as soon as you start to weld it, it buckles like crazy. I'd previously gone and taken out a lot of these buckles, but there was a lot of hammer marks, and it just generally looked a bit shoddy. I'm still sticking with my rule of only ever have a maximum of 1 mil of filler anywhere, but as I progressed there were still some high spots and these would need to be addressed as I went. If I was being really honest with myself, I should probably have cut out the whole roof and done it again, but I just couldn't guarantee I wouldn't end up with exactly the same issue again. So I decided to just fix it in post, as the film people say. Anyway, whilst you all avoid doing any work on your own unfinished projects, here's some music to listen to whilst I do the hard work, so you don't have to. It was around this point I realised I probably need to support the roof a bit better. As it stands, the roof has its mounting points at the back, and then it was just resting on the screen rail at the front. But that was it. So I decided to add some adjustable bump stops at the back. These are basically rubberized cones that are typically used for mounting bonnets, but I think they will work great for what I want. So it was a job of cutting a length of 40mm steel box section to the correct lengths, remembering of course to shut one eye for greater accuracy, as the surface I was welding to wasn't completely level, and one side needed to be slightly shorter than the other. With the vertical tube welded in, I could then weld on the top. And the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that I welded in the top before cutting it first, and you may be asking why I didn't just measure it first. And the simple answer here is that I was being very lazy and this was slightly easier. Finally, a quick bit of drilling, installing a riv nut, and then I could screw in the bump stops. Job done. There was one more job to do on the roof, and that was the actual catch that holds the roof onto the windscreen rail. I had a small catch that should do the job, and so I drilled a hole into the windscreen rail, installed a riv nut, yes I know I am using a lot this week, and then screwed in the peg that the catch catches on. Doing this whole process this way ensures that when you weld on the bracket that the catch mounts to, it's automatically in exactly the correct place. So, after doing all of that, did it latch properly? Yeah. Let's just say I think we'll be revisiting that whole process somewhere down the line. It just didn't quite all fit together as well as I'd want it to. Okay, following a load of final bodywork and allowing for a revisit of the catch shambles process later on, that's the roof all done. Overall, I'm really happy with it, and I think it really starts to show off the curves of the car from the rear three-quarter view. So, what do we do next? I think we need to revisit the doors and sort out the panel fit on the passenger door and the bodywork, both of them. But once that's done, we're on to the final stretch of getting this all running. It's some mechanical stuff to do at the front, but we are getting scary close to the first drive of this. Welcome to an actually nearly finished project. See you next time.